I'm Jennifer Geiger, the author of Patmos, and today I'd like to read for you a few paragraphs out of my first chapter called The Exile. Have you ever wakened from a dream to realize you didn't know your surroundings? Dazed, confused, you grope for answers, searching for some little clue to help you get your bearings. If you've ever felt this way, you're not alone. It was much the reaction I experienced the day I woke on a deserted beach, partially submerged in water. Overhead, birds were chirping, flying about their daily routine. From underneath, a burning sensation ripped through my back as sand seeped into the exposed wounds left by the beatings. Gagging from the seawater washed into my mouth, I sat up, coughing. My eyes, on fire from the salt of the sea, make opening them difficult. Blinking repeatedly, I force them open. Squinting from the brilliance of the sun, my mind races for answers. I'm puzzled and wonder, where am I? In the back of my mind, bits and pieces of memories begin taking shape. Finally, I remember. My shoulders slump, and it all comes back. Closing my eyes, I drop my head onto my knees and am instantly transported in my mind to the Colosseum in Ephesus, where I am taken to face Emperor Domitian. I watch as the scene plays out before me. I'm being led into the arena by a troop of 8 top-notch soldiers. My hands are secured tightly behind my back, and a rope to prohibit running ties my feet. As I'm being led into the arena, sounds coming from the angry crowd, shaking their fists and screaming for my death, are deafening. The smell of hot oil permeates the air. In the middle of the stadium is a pit that had been hollowed out of the ground. It is stacked with wood and heated 7 times its usual temperature. Hanging from a tripod, suspended over the pit, is a cauldron of boiling oil. The oil is bubbling over the top and splashing into the fire below, which served to increase the intensity of the flames. Adjacent to the cauldron, a platform had been erected with 7 steps leading to the top. At the emperor's direction, other guards, decked out in full military gear, carrying a spear in one hand and a shield in the other, line the path leading to the stairway. Reaching the stairs, my ascent begins. Only 2 of the 8 guards accompany me to the top. The others remain, 1 on each of the 6 steps leading to the platform. Once I was at the top, the guards take a rope and tie it around my waist. Then, sneering, they take their time and lower me slowly into the smoldering cauldron. As they did, some of the excess oil splashed over the side and landed in the fire below, causing the flames to shoot up and ignite the hem of one of the guards' tunics. However, quick thinking on the part of the other guard spared him further harm. When moments before it went up in flames, he ripped the cloak from his shoulder and tossed it to the ground. Meanwhile, in the center of the pot, bubbling in oil, I stood listening as the shouts coming from the crowd filling the auditorium intensified. What happened next was nothing short of a miracle. It not only silenced the crowd, who moments before was chanting for my death, it infuriated the emperor, who was watching from his royal seat high above the arena. The oil bubbling inside the cauldron was not producing the expected effect. Instead of burning me alive, it burnt the ropes of my confinement, allowing me to raise my hands in praise. The emperor, surrounded by his entourage of friends, jumped to his feet. Raising his arms, he yelled, "No, no, no!" Meanwhile, all eyes in the Colosseum remained on the pot suspended in the center of the arena. The guards who previously laughed when they lowered me into the kettle turned pale. Flabbergasted, they stepped back. Clueless as to what to do next, they glanced in the direction of the emperor, who was red-faced and pointing towards me, screaming orders to his personal guards. In the interim, I remained in the cauldron, singing praises that could be definitely heard by the now hushed crowd. Clearly not pleased with the turn of events, the emperor sent his guards with orders to seize me and take me to a secluded place away from the wavering onlookers who were now cheering for my release. Reaching the cauldron, the guards were unable to remove me as the steam emitting from my clothing made touching me dangerous. Taking 2 long poles, they slid one under each arm and lifted me out, dumping me on the ground. To the surprise of all onlookers, I was unscathed. The silence in the arena was eerie. Once the heat of the oil diminished, the guards seized my arms and dragged me out of the arena to a secluded spot away from the crowd. There they beat me and threw me into a cell crowded with other prisoners. Confided inside the cell, I heard the chants of the crowds increasing in volume as they shouted for my release. Later, I heard from my trusty aide, Prochorus, who, along with Philip, was one of the 7 selected to serve as deacons to the church in Jerusalem, that after experiencing the miracle in the arena, thousands of people came forward acknowledging Jesus as Lord. The audience continued chanting while the emperor, outraged at his failure to silence the last living disciple, flopped down in his seat. Rubbing his forehead, he refused to be comforted. In front of all of his subjects, he had been humiliated and became obsessed in cultivating a way to get rid of me without aggravating the people who witnessed this incident. Meanwhile, in the dungeon where I was discarded like an old rag, squeezed in with other prisoners, I listened as the crowd continued chanting, "Release John," wafted through the open bars. My mind began to wander as I listened, back to the beginning, to a period even before my time on earth began. It revolved around a story my father, a master storyteller, repeated dozens of times in the years since its occurrence. I heard the story so many times, I felt, even though I had yet to be born, as if I had been there. The event took place when my father, Zebedee, and older brother James were shepherds. On this particular night, they and the other shepherds were watching their sheep on a hillside near the small village of Bethlehem. The episode began unfolding during the first watch of the night. Papa and James had settled for the night when out of nowhere a glow, bright in intensity, suddenly materialized in the sky. As the shepherds went to investigate, they noticed inside the glow an image of an angel developing. Frightened, they stepped back. Sensing their fear, the angel spoke in a reassuring voice to deliver a message straight from God. "Do not be afraid. I bring you good news that will cause great joy." And if you want to hear the rest of the story, you can pick up my book Patmos either online or at your local bookstore. I'm Jennifer Geiger. Thank you for listening.